blame it on Texas, don't blame it on me.
My 2014 Big 12 football previews resume as we highlight a team who I think will finish fourth in the Big 12, and that is Texas. You know, Mack Brown, through his career, did many fantastic things, but of course, most of those were very early on. Throughout the 2000s, 9 seasons with at least 10 victories, including the 05 National Championship with Vince Young. But the last 4 years are years that maybe Texas fans assume to forget for the most part. Yeah, they did win their first 6 Big 12 games last year after that rotten start during September of 1-2 out of conference. But the last 4 games, Texas lost 3 of them, and before the Alamo Bowl against Oregon, Mack Brown, under a lot of pressure, finally decided to call it quits. So, bringing in a new head coach with maybe some fire, is that the answer for Texas? Can't hurt. Charlie Strong won a national championship as defensive coordinator under Urban Meyer for Florida back in 2008 against my Sooners. But then Strong got an opportunity to coach big time. Major college football at Louisville as a head coach and made an immediate impact with tough defense. And by the way, 2 years ago, upset Florida, his old team, in a major bowl, the Sugar Bowl. So now entering this season, his debut at Texas, getting $5 million plus a year. And the thing that impresses me about Charlie Strong is the fact that he preaches 2 things, okay? He preaches toughness and, in terms of his players off the field, core values as well. How serious is he about it? Well, didn't take him long to kick several players off the team, including a starting running back and a projected starting wide receiver. And he just about kicked off a projected free safety, but did reinstate him, although he's suspended. We'll talk about those players later on. Let's talk about the offense first for UT. David Ash. This, to me, is the biggest wild card of the team. If he stays healthy, if he's protected, if those concussions don't reoccur, Texas is capable of making a lot of noise. But again, it's not just concussions, by the way, which have really sidelined him. He only played 3 games last year. He's missed 11 games throughout his career, and at least 2 of those games he did play. In 2 games he did play, by the way, he played injured, though, in at least 2 that we know about. So he's missed 11 times, and by the way, again, he only played in 3 games in 2013. So Case McCoy got a lot of action. So if David Ash goes down this time, you don't have Colt's brother to help you out. It's going to be Tyrone Swoops or Jared Hurd, both multidimensional quarterbacks. Swoops, by the way, saw action merely in mock time last year against backups and didn't really play a whole lot anyway. So the inexperience for Texas at quarterback, if something would happen to David Ash, could be devastating for this team. If he's healthy, though, things could really click. And looking at the receivers, Jaxson Shipley, speaking of injury, he's been plagued with it even as we speak because of a nagging hamstring injury. They may not play him against North Texas for the opener in a few days. They have to have Shipley healthy because he's a guy that can catch the short pass, he can catch the long pass. He's very reliable with the hands. It reminds you a lot of his older brother, Jordan, who, of course, is a legend at Texas. So, complimenting Shipley, you'd have a guy like John Harris and also, too, Marcus Johnson. Hearing good things about Marcus as well. So, you have to compensate for the fact that you're not very deep as far as experience at receivers. Remember, you lose Mike Davis, who was a stud last year. They have recruited well as far as receivers, but you'd have to put 1 or 2 in as true freshmen to play, and you might have to anyway, just depending on the rotation that UT will set up. But Shipley, I know that they're going to really watch that hamstring, but that guy has to be healthy. Otherwise, it does change the approach for Texas as far as the receiver rotation goes and also their production. Running back-wise, Malcolm Brown. He's played there since he was a freshman, had a decorated high school career, and last season pretty much stayed away from the injured bug, unlike some UT starters. And matter of fact, came in for the injured Jonathan Gray during the West Virginia game late in the year. And of the last 4 games, Malcolm Brown broke 100 yards 3 times. So Malcolm Brown already a first-team all-preseason Big 12 running back. Of course, Jonathan Gray, when healthy, I think he's even better than Malcolm Brown. I think Jonathan Gray's a star, but again, that torn Achilles really changed a lot. Joe Bergeron and Jalen Overstreet, 2 guys that were going to contribute. In fact, Bergeron's played a lot in his career, but he couldn't follow the core values of Charlie Strong. He was getting in trouble a lot, and so he got dismissed from the team. So ground-wise, if anything should happen to Brown or Gregg, you'd have to rely on David Catalon, who, by the way, is a true freshman. Offensive line returns a couple of veterans. You have Donnie Espinoza. He's played since his freshman year. 39 career starts for the center entering this his final year. What a career. Right tackle for UT, Kenny Estelle, 8 career starts for him. And Desmond Harrison, not a returning starter, so to speak, but a guy that was an all-star in junior college. But UT is waiting for this guy to really show his true skills. 6'8", 313. You can tell why UT wants this guy to get fully developed. Hasn't really shown that expectation level that UT has placed on him. But you have him at the other tackle spot. Defensively for Texas, last season, boy, did they give up a lot of yards. Over 400 yards per game. Of course, you remember the BYU game last year in which the Cougars ran for over 500 yards against them. That costed Manny Diaz his job as defensive coordinator. The defense did get better as the season went along, but just like the offense, the defense had some injury issues as well. Probably the biggest area was at linebacker, where they do return the linebacking unit, but I don't know how much that's going to do, because these guys could not really be playmakers last year for this UT defense. Jordan Hicks, he's been injury-prone. Achilles heel from a year ago. You have Steve Edmond back, but he had to battle a lacerated liver. So if these guys don't have that past part of their injuries resurface, they could end up hitting full potential and really help out the defensive line, we'll talk about in a minute. Peter Jenkins you'll have at one linebacker, and a backup linebacker who played last season, Dalton Santos. Kendall Thompson, a guy that they won't have back, and this guy, just like David Ash, had multiple concussion issues. In fact, I think might have been even on a higher level, and Thompson had to retire from Texas. So that's really a shame. Looking at the defensive line, even though you lose an All Big 12 player in Jackson Jeffcoat, who now is with the Seattle Seahawks, you do have back Cedric Reed. Cedric Reed going to be first-team all-defensive end if he plays like we think he will. One of the best defensive ends in the country last season. Nearly 80 tackles, but his 10 sacks make him a big-time threat against any quarterback in the league. And then Malcolm Brown, not the running back, but the defensive tackle, Malcolm Brown, you have him back. And at the other tackle, not so much of a full-time starter, but a guy that, with the nickname you thought he would be, that's Desmond the Tank Jackson. So the tackle position looks solidified there. Secondary, probably the area you have to worry about the least if you're a Longhorn fan because of the multitude of experience you have back. You have the luxury of returning a stud like Quandre Diggs at one corner. Didn't have any interceptions, but did break up 10 passes. So he was Johnny on the spot. Duke Thomas will occupy the other position. And at strong safety, Michael Thompson, probably the most talented of the 4 guys. And he definitely stayed busy last season. And at free safety, he won't start during the season because of trouble he got into. In fact, he was kicked off the team at one point during the summer by Charlie Strong, but brought back. That's Josh Turner. People around Oklahoma know who he is. He played not too far from where I live. He played at Millwood, and he was the Oklahoma High School Defensive Player of the Year. Josh Turner had one heck of a spring, so Josh Turner should occupy that free safety spot entering this his senior year. The special teams, watch for this area because it's not going to be as experienced from last season. Anthony Furr was a reliable place kicker, but now you will replace him with either Jordan or you replace him with Nick Rose. Nick Rose handled the kickoff duties a year ago, so you know he has the leg. And punter will be William Russ, and that's also going to be a new area to fill in for Texas as far as experience goes. All right, the schedule for Texas. They'll open the season with North Texas. Should be a cakewalk. Probably won't be a cakewalk, though, the next 2 weeks, even though you don't leave the state of Texas. September the 6th, you're going to host BYU. Of course, we already documented it, how much running success BYU had against these guys last year. Don't expect 500 yards rushing again from BYU, but it'll still be a tough game. UT hopes it's a revenge game, a revenge win against the Cougars this time they're playing in Austin. But the next week, you go to Arlington, Texas. It'll be a home slanting game in all reality, but you have a tough opponent. UCLA, they're high, potent offense led by Brett Hundley, but that stadium's going to be 85 to 90% burnt orange in the stands. You get a bye week, and then you close out September with a game at Lawrence against lowly Kansas. But the next 2 games, it gets serious because you play probably the 2 best teams in the Big 12. You get them back-to-back. You host Baylor, the defending Big 12 champions, and you play my Sooners on October the 11th. Texas trying to make it 2 in a row over OU. That game, of course, always at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. That'll be the second Saturday of October. Then you get to the second half of the schedule, which in comparison to the first doesn't look near as daunting. Iowa State's a big reason why. You host the Cyclones October the 18th, and you close out October at Kansas State against the Wildcats. Hadn't beaten K-State in Manhattan in 11 years. But you have had success against Texas Tech, whether you played them in Austin or in Lubbock, and this time you get them in West Texas and Lubbock, and you get them early November. Then November 8th, you host West Virginia, which should be a win. November 15th, who knows, okay? Oklahoma State going through a rebuilding year, and what's ironic about this series, Oklahoma State beats Texas when they play them in Austin, but they haven't beaten Texas in Stillwater since 1997. I can't figure that one out. And then you wrap up the year on Thanksgiving night on Thursday, November the 27th against Texas Christian, TCU the Horned Frogs. Best case scenario, 10-2. Yeah, it could happen. Charlie Strong's that good of a coach, and if those injury issues don't resurface, you're asking an awful lot, though, for David Ash to get through the entire year without major injury because he's had so many injuries already in his career. But if he can stay healthy, if you give him the benefit of the doubt, and if the linebackers contribute more than what we've seen, and if Jaxson Shipley's hamstring improves, yeah, Texas is capable of winning at least 10. Worst case scenario, the injuries could come back, and it could get worse for Jordan Shipley's brother Jackson's hamstring. They could end up 6-6. Could very well end up 6-6, not just at wide receiver, not just with David Ash, but 2, if the ground game has to rely on a true freshman and if their depth problem really gets to be bad, then they could actually wind up with wide receivers playing at running back. That could very well be the case. We've seen that before with Texas. And if the defense, if the linebackers are like last year and don't contribute as much as they should, 6-6 with that tough schedule, not impossible. Difficult, but not impossible. Final scenario, though, I don't think they're going to go 6-6. I think they'll win 8 games, lose 4, and finish 4th in the Big 12 with a 6-3 record.